Alright, welcome to episode 20, Intimate ZVX with Stoic. He is Stoic Regret.
And he is Stoic Nouveau.
We are coming at you for, David, this is our 20th episode.
Yep.
That's, what is that, 70 videos so far? That's a lot.
Way more than that.
No. It's about 7. Well, if you count the first 3 we did on Twitch.
We did 5 in some of them too. Whatever. Anyways.
So, first game we've got here is ZvZ on Cloud Kingdom against Complexity's Rise. Anything you want to say about this game before we jump right in, or do you want to just start it right off?
It's a pretty standard ZvZ. I think both players are, me and him and I, are pretty defensive in the early game. So this does go into the mid game and the late. Well, not really late game, but it goes to the mid game fairly quickly. So.
Okay. Well, let's go in then.
What music are you playing?
Oh, this is Jumper by Third Eye Blind, in case anyone was wondering. What? It's a good song.
You know how we had a bunch of comments of people saying that we should stop doing the banter at the beginning of the game?
Yeah?
Apparently they're so impatient that they have to wait through 2 minutes of us talking about non-StarCraft things, and they just can't stand it because they want to get they quickly want to get to all that StarCraft 2 information so they can become a better Zerg player. Well, we don't care, so let's have a moment of silence just to piss off those people so they have to actually click ahead in the VOD.
I'm gonna go get a glass of water and fold my laundry. I'll be right back.
Jeez. Okay, let's go.
Alright. 3, 2, 1, play. 41 seconds. Patented Stoic replay time. We do cast from replays, guys.
I hated how these instructional free VODs that are trying to make me a better player have this 2-minute downtime at the beginning of each VOD. Fuck, can't stand it.
Fast forward. Oh, it's really hot in Toronto.
I was just going to say that.
I'm sweating.
I was just going to be like, God, it's so hot.
I'm sweating my balls off. Oh, God, saying the word balls just got us 3 dislikes on Reddit. I mean on YouTube. Fuck, I shouldn't have said that.
20 dislikes on Reddit.
Oh, keep in mind this is fucking free.
Oh man, I can't stand the 2-minute banter at the beginning of each VOD. Seriously, guys? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, put out a VOD without banter that's better than this one. Go ahead.
I can't stand it. I just want to get to the information.
Alright, let's talk about the game a little bit here.
Alright, so I'm going to be opening 15 hatch, and Ryze is going to be opening a hybrid 14-14 build. So 14-14 allows you to get speed really quickly, but it also allows you to transition into an expansion very safely. So what he's doing is he's delaying the pool and delaying the gas, which will allow him to have more drones, and it'll allow him to place down his hatchery a little bit earlier than 14-14. So the build he's doing actually is pretty good against 14-14 itself, and against 15 hatch, because it's closer to the economic abilities of 15 hatching, and it's further away from getting tech really quickly as 14-14 gets. So if I was 14-14ing defensively, he would be slightly ahead, and because I'm 15 hatching, I think my build is a little bit more superior, but he will have more drones than 14-14 players, so the game will even out fairly certain, as we'll see in drone count. Right now I have 1 more drone, but once he puts down his hatch and decides to drone up, it should be fairly equal. So at this point in the game, I do see that he did not put down his hatch.
Boom! Hatch down!
I did, but he did put down his hatch extremely early. I know that he didn't go 14-14 into a 21 hatch. I know that he put down his hatch way before the 21 mark, so it's very unlikely that he's going to be aggressive at this point. Placing down your hatch this early basically blows 300 minerals that you could have invested into Zerglings. So I actually don't have to build that many Zerglings in response to this. So that's the real key when 15 hatching against players who are opening pool first but are not trying to all-in you. You really want to build the least amount of Zerglings possible. So as you can see, I'm only building 4 here, and I'm immediately going back to droning. I mean, in retrospect, I can kind of say I probably should have only built 2, because on a map like this, my Overlord spread will allow me to see him send lings to my base. So if he sends 2, I should probably only build 2 in response, especially because I have a spine crawler and 2 queens to defend. So that's how I like to look at ZvZ, and I don't think it's wrong to say, oh, two lings, that's a little greedy to cut. You definitely should be cutting it, because As you can see, I'm at 21 drones and he's at 18 drones.
22.
So I'm already doing a good job of predicting that I should be droning at this point. But, you know, if I cut those two drones, if I cut those two lings, I would have had an extra drone, and that becomes exponentially better, especially if he decides to build drones himself. So I am a slightly ahead in drone rotation. Yeah, what were you going to say?
You win the build order war here, too, because you're a whole inject ahead, because you have 2 queens injecting 2 hatcheries, right? So you're going to shoot up in a couple of minutes here. You're going to shoot way ahead if you choose to drone.
Exactly, but that's the key, though, to doing 15 hatch against pool openings. You actually don't get ahead if you overmake Zerglings, and that's the biggest mistake most players do. They say to themselves, okay, I'm opening 15 hatch and he's opening 14-14. I'm going to build 10 lings at the beginning of the game so I don't die. That's actually a huge mistake, because if he stops at 16 drones and you build 10 lings, you're fine, because he's building mass lings. But if he goes 16 drones, then builds just 2 lings like he did this game, and builds nothing but drones, and you 15 hatch, you stop at 17, so I only have 17 drones. So if he drones up 4, he's already ahead of me in drones, so I don't want that to happen. Alright, so what I did this game that we saw that hopefully we didn't miss, I think you noticed it, I built a second spine, and then I canceled it. And I did that because I was unsure of whether he was going to be aggressive or not, but then I saw him send those lings at me again as a scout, so I canceled it because I felt like he just did that to scout. And that's exactly what's going on here. So this is a huge win for me because I'm scouting his base here, and I don't see 2 gases at his expansion, so I know that he's not layer tech yet. But I do see defensive mailings, and that's huge for me because basically I feel 100% safe right now. I know that if he wants the bailing all in me, he's going to have to run those bailings across the entire map. So basically my roaches will be the absolute hard counter to that. And if he doesn't want to be offensive, which is what he's doing, he's just going to be defensive. And basically I'm allowed to drone up to whatever number I feel comfortable, because he's not going to attack me whatsoever. So I have gotten my second and third gas extremely early. I believe it's very important in ZvZ to get your gases beyond the first one basically as fast as you can. I mean, if I had a choice, I would not build any units until I was fully saturated on 2 bases with 4 gas, obviously. The only reason why you delay them is to build units like these roaches here, just in case he decides to send lings at me, because you don't want to die to just a simple run by. So I do see here that he's putting down his 3rd base. Now I'm on 4 gases, feeling very comfortable, so I'm going to put down that second evo, because I can invest into as much tech as I want, because 4 gases is the absolute most you can get off 2 bases. And now I'm just spreading my army so that he can't cancel my 3rd. And I know that he was on Zergling tech first. I don't know that he's transitioning into roaches. But at this point, I'm just trying to secure my 3rd base, so there's no reason for me to deviate my play from what he's doing at this point.
You got a 9-minute, 12-second layer.
Yeah, very late layer. Okay. I'm at 17, 18, 19.
Keep counting.
20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
Okay,
5.
we're good.
Yeah, so a late layer here just because I wanted to put down that 3rd. If I wasn't going to expand to my 3rd base, obviously the layer should be at about 7 minutes. You don't want to delay it too much. I have quite nice saturation here. Don't forget, guys, when you're building your 3rd base, especially in ZvZ and ZvT, you can oversaturate your 2nd base with drones if you feel safe. And the reason why you do that is because when the 3rd base goes up, you don't want to build the drones when the 3rd base goes up. You want to have enough drones to kind of transfer a few over. So I do have too many drones at my 2nd base. I should be transferring a few of them over to my 3rd. And okay, so this is the first deviation in this game. What I'm doing this for is I know that he has so many Zerglings on the map. So basically the problem with that is because I open roaches, my army will be slightly stronger than his, but I know that if I move out, he's just going to run by and snipe my 3rd. So what I'm doing here is actually I built a shit ton of lings, and I did that surely because I knew he was going to do that wraparound with that huge number of lings that he just did. So this is a huge move by me, and it's going to give me an extremely big lead in this game. I was able to predict that he's going to do a wraparound, and now with that huge number of lings that I just made, I'm going to be able to snipe his 3rd because he actually wasn't even expecting this. He was expecting me basically to just continue to produce roaches. And the problem with that is, you know, I could have 25 roaches at this point in the game, but if he snipes my 3rd while I'm moving out, then basically I'm put into a really weird all-in situation. So me going into lings there does 2 main things. It stops the run by, it throws them a little bit off, obviously I killed the 3rd, and because Zerglings don't cost gas, as you can see I'm pooling almost 1,000 gas right now. And it looks a little weird, because it looks like the macro management is a little off. But as you're going to see, my point here is to transition into Hydralisk. So the reason why my army is going to be so exponentially strong, in the next 2 minutes is because I'm going to be able to build that huge, 15 to 20 ball of Hydralisks that really defeat any mid-tier army of ZvZ.
Is your goal, like, as soon as you get your layer up, do you want to... I mean, obviously, in this case, you chose to attack and do some damage, but is your next kind of decision to just decide which tech you're going to do, either Infestors or Hydralisks?
Definitely, and I really don't think there's a difference. It's more of a stylistic thing, but one thing to note about Infestors and Hydralisk is you have to be so careful about when you decide to transition and start building that tech. The last thing you want to do is build 20 Hydralisks when you only have 10 roaches on the field, and then all he does is build, like 25 roaches and attacks you. Because if you get attacked by mass roach while your Hydralisks are building, oh, that is like the worst thing that can possibly happen. You have your Hydralisks popping out one at a time, and all his roaches will snipe your Hydralisks one at a time, and you basically just lose the game even though you have a higher army value. So that's the last thing you want to happen. So to avoid that, you basically have to be sure that when I transition to Hydralisk, he can't kill me. So as you can see, this is when I start to build my Hydralisk number. And the reason I do this is because when he moved out, I saw his army and I knew, okay, this army is a really weak one. All he has is roaches and, way too many lings for this army to be a threat. And that's exactly what he made that attack for in the first place. He knew that his army value wasn't higher than mine, so he used his massed ling count to kind of do a run-by. But he kind of got countered because I used that opportunity to tech straight into Hydralisk. So now I have 14 Hydralisks. I'm probably going to build a few more. And basically I got to this point where, yes, he's doing these run-bys, yes, he's doing a little bit of economic damage, but during this time, I didn't overproduce low-tier units because I knew that this is not an attack I have to fend off. It's not something that's going to kill me. It's just like an annoyance tactic. So I used this opportunity to tech into this death ball. As you can see, I'm basically maxed right now with a huge bank, and he has basically no army value whatsoever because he had to produce so many lings, which are practically worthless once I hit this death ball army. And at this point, there's really not much he can do because, like I said, I do have this huge death ball of Hydralisks now. I have that 14 count of Hydralisks, and I have this huge bank of 1500 minerals and gas. At a maxed army, and I'm taking my 4th base. And now you can see the decision to tech into Hydralisks while he was doing those run-bys is really just going to win me the game here. I mean, there's really not much you can do. I'm just going to win sheerly from army value. I am ahead in upgrades as well, but that's just because I was able to put down my double Evo chamber a little bit sooner than him. But other than that, I'm just going to win from sheer force and number at this point. And yeah, that's a pretty simple ZvZ.
Yeah. Oh, there it is, the GG.
Yeah, so the real thing to note is, especially when you're opening non-Baneling builds, is you really just have to understand what units counter what units at the beginning of the game. And it's usually not so simple as, if he's doing this tech, I'm going to build this. It's more, what is he building rotation-wise, drones or units at this point, and what can I kind of surprise him with?
Yeah.
Especially when you want to do early aggression. So, see, like on paper, the logic of me doing that huge attack at the beginning doesn't make any sense. And the reason it doesn't make any sense is it's because I know that he opened Banelings. So I stopped at, say, 6 or 7 roaches. Me massing lings at this point to do aggression actually doesn't really make sense on paper because Baneling tech counters Zerglings. So technically, if he has Banelings and Zerglings with a few roaches, and I have a few roaches and a shit ton of lings, technically I'm being countered. But it's because the way the game kind of turns out, his rotation of drones was way later than mine, and because of that, he had this huge influx of Zerglings. He had, almost 30, I think he had like 36 Zerglings, while I had maybe 10 Zerglings and 6 roaches to defend my base. So, like I said, if I continue to produce roaches here, and went up to, even 25 roaches, I would go and attack his 3rd, but these slow roaches would be completely ineffective if he just ran by and sniped my 3rd base with his 36 lings. And then I'm in an all-in situation because I don't have a 3rd base now, and I have to attack him because I have more roaches than him. And if he defends, if the game's over. So me building the lings there is to counter the ling run by, and it just so happened he screwed up his rotation and actually droned behind that. So he didn't have enough lings even to stop that attack. even though he had roaches to defend, and that allowed me to snipe the hatch and get out. And that was a huge lead. And then the problem with that is he got nervous when I attacked him there too. And because he saw so many lings, he actually didn't just max roach there. He went, half lings, half roach. So after that attack, he had this huge number of lings again that he really had nothing to do with. So what he ended up doing is trying to do those ling run-bys when he was already behind a base. And while he was doing that, I was just teching the hydras. So that's basically how
Awesome.
ZvZ usually goes.
One thing I noticed there that you're always doing is every time you build a bunch of units, you select the eggs and then shift add them to your army hotkey, which is,
Yeah.
if you're not doing that, guys, do it. Take the time to learn how to do it. It's going to slow you down when you first start to learn. I've been working on it lately, and it's hard to learn, but do it. It's going to basically propel you into that next level of play. You have to be doing that.
For Zerg, it's such a good thing to do that because Zerg units are the fastest units in the game. So even if you need to defend things like drops or multi-prong attacks, having all your units, that are about to be produced selected into your hotkey of units doesn't mean that drops and whatnot will kill you, especially if they're Zerglings, because as long as you have your units prepared in some kind of hotkey, you don't have to go searching for them around the map. So all you have to do is, if you see a drop on your mini-map, you just select the hotkey with your units, and you go to the drop or whatever harassment he's sending at you with those units. If we were producing something like tanks, for example, that would be highly unvisable. It would be highly terrible to do that, because if your tanks are across the map and you have to prepare for a defensive posture, you can't really run back to your base and defend a drop. So that's why for Protoss and Terran, having units rallied in a defensive position are technically better, but for Zerg, not really. And Zerg tends to be the most aggressive race anyways, especially in the mid and late game.
Yep.
So having your units on hotkey definitely will help big time in reinforcements. And it's just once you get so many hatch and there's so many things to do, having your units in a position where you don't have to go searching for them around the map really speeds up the amount of things you're able to do in the game. Because don't forget, while you're attacking and while you're microing, you have to inject through all of your hatcheries, and you have to tech. So if you have to do that and go back to your rally and select the units that are sitting there idle and send them back to where you want them to be or where you want them to be attacking and injecting, it's just overly difficult, and it overly complicates things.
Awesome.
So.
Okay, so we'll see you guys in Game 2 of Episode 20.